Ya tú sabes.
Happy Friday, Miami. This is Buy, Sell, Hold Miami, a real estate podcast by two locals who are going to cut through the fluff and give you straight talk how locals see what's going on in the market today. My name is Peter Zalewski. I'm a condo I keep saying converter. I'm a condo consultant. I might be a
You
converter
flipper?
one day. We'll see. I'm also an expert witness, and I'm the founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club. Let me go ahead and pass the baton over before I make any other mistakes to my co-host and the moderator of the show, no one else but Daniel Hernandez from Compass Real Estate over in Coconut Grove. He does single-family houses as well as condos. So if you're in the Grove, go reach out to Daniel. Go have coffee. Go over to Monty's and have a drink if it's happy hour because affordability is really a challenge right now.
It is.
But
Right?
Daniel knows where the deals are. Hey, Daniel, how's it going? Happy Friday.
What's going on, Peter? I'm jacked up today. I don't know if it's the weather, the art on Miami Beach, or just the general je ne sais quoi in the air. That's French, by the way. I'm very cultured now. I was in Europe, but in any event, do we have a show for the gang today? So if you're just joining us, this is episode 29, folks. We got about, what is that, 3 more left in the year, and then we'll be into 2026, episode 29 of Buy, Sell, Hold Miami. And so if you're just joining us for the first time, our show is geared around the rundown. And the rundown is what you see in the bottom left corner of your screen. Peter and I pick 5 topics to talk about. We get about 7 minutes with each one. If we go a little bit over, that's okay, because we got you for an hour, and we hope we stick with you the whole time. And if you're probably sitting in traffic trying to beat that Art Basel back to the office or back from the office, well, maybe this should be a 2-hour show today. But we'll stick it to 1 hour. We like to be honest with time. And with that, I want to jump right into it. Speaking of Art Basel, hey, Peter, I took a look at the estimated numbers for economic impact for Art Basel. And
Okay.
it says here estimated $565 million. And that number is all the art people are going to buy, and then all the hotels people are going to stay at, and the Lamborghinis they're going to rent, or actually those exotic car dealers do not report their revenues, but all in the same. And 565 million. What does that even mean anymore? So
Well, that means $188 million a day.
Wow, that is right. Well, okay, so I'm glad you said that. What about Super Bowl, which is one day?
Well, what is that supposed to come in over $1 billion? By the way, Art Basel, we're talking $7.8 million an hour. So while you're watching this show, they're making $7.8 million.
And some of these pieces of art sell for $5.5, $6 million a pop. And that, by the way, I'm sure you were going to call it out, but I'm going to beat you to it. Number one condo sale in broke records, Seaway by Fort Partners. Nadim Ashi sold pre-construction the penthouse right next to his Four Seasons development. That Four Seasons Surfside had the record breaker. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was $5,731 a square foot. Is that what it went for? About 38 million bucks.
Yeah,
No. It was $6,731 a square foot. It was almost $7,000 a square foot. Yeah. So this new one at this building he built next door, it's only got a handful of units, 20 or so units, I think. And this penthouse broke the record, $60-something million. It's crazy.
It's a K-shape economy. Those on the top half, they are banking. Those on the bottom half better get in line for food, free food, at the soup kitchen.
So the Super Bowl, I just wanted to give people sort of the relative numbers. We have several big events in South Florida throughout the year. Super Bowl, last time we had it, I think, was 2020, according to my half-ass internet research, and that brought in $571 million. But that was pre-COVID. Well over $1 billion today. I mean, you can't afford to go to the Super Bowl unless, what are the nosebleeds costing, Peter?
Oh, it's got to be 5Gs at least.
No, you couldn't pay me to do that. All right, so the Super Bowl and Art Basel, those might sound like crazy numbers, but the real money is the boat shows. The boat show. So the Miami International Boat Show brought in somewhere between 1 and 1.3 billion this year. The Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show, which is like the apex globally. Fort Lauderdale Yacht Show it's the yacht show. $1.78 billion of economic impact. Blows my socks off. That's a lot. I mean, and these boats they trade for $5-6 million. Used boats, mind you.
That's why it's good to have a friend who owns a boat. You don't want to own your own boat. You make sure you know somebody who owns a boat.
What do they say? The operating cost on a boat like that's about 10% of the value?
Oh, I'm sure of that. I am 100% sure of that.
Fuel and staff or whatever, what have you.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about Art Basel? I don't know how much everybody knows about it, but basically it's based out of Switzerland. It's an opportunity. It's a marketplace. It's a pop-up marketplace for the whales, if you will, to collect art. And then Daniel, believe it, 2002 is when they brought it to Miami. They were trying to branch out. They went out to Hong Kong. They brought it to Miami, and at the time they announced it. Now we were going to try to tie in art to everything else we had going on here. It became a once-a-year type of annual event that people would fly into. Typically, what happens is the opening night, which I think is Thursday because the exhibition opens at the convention center.
No. If you're like Big Poppy VIP, it's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, yeah. So you get the VIP.
That's the Big Poppy VIP that we know about. There's probably one on Tuesday.
It's probably on Tuesday. So you roll into town. Everything is set up at the Miami Beach Convention Center and wander around. You pick and choose what you want. And what's happened since then, because this takes place over at the Miami Beach Convention Center, what's happened is we have pop-up events. Back when Midtown Miami was basically just two towers on the east side, they had all this vacant land.
They called it Art Miami, right? Wasn't that
Art Miami. They would put up all these tents. The Miami Herald site, once Genting took it over, they raised the Miami Herald and they were going to build a casino and that never worked and blah, blah, blah. And they put up tents. So when you come into Miami this time of year, you're going to see tents everywhere, and that's for the pop-ups for the art. If you come into Miami during the summer, you're going to see blue tarps. That is to cover the leaking roofs because of the hurricane and the rains and everything else. So we always have tents
Hurricane
around
season's
here.
over and we didn't get hit.
We did not get hit 100%. But you know, Daniel, here's my question to you about the economic impact. There's a book called Back to Blood, written by Tom Wolfe, famous American writer, novelist before he ultimately passed. One of his final books was called Back to Blood. It's based on Miami. One of the main characters is a money launderer who's in the art game. There's always been a lot of connection between money laundering and art.
Because that's a total farce. That doesn't exist.
Because how do you value it? Next to art is racehorses. These are supposedly two of the things that kind of go on there. So every time I think about Art Basel and I think about the art and I think about the valuations, that always tends to cross my mind. I'm always Mr. Positive.
No, I thought for a second we weren't live on YouTube, and I was freaked out because people wait for us on YouTube. Millions and millions of people. We have more crowds than Donald Trump. But something else I wanted to bring up. Not a lot of times, if you look at the Real Deal or any of these publications, the Real Deal, which is a real estate publication, they're talking about Art Basel because the output from Art Basel, or sort of the post game, the epilogue next week, people are going to be looking at, hey, how many leads did I get during Art Basel? It's not just an art sales event. It's a massive networking event. Listen, we put this on in December instead of July for a reason, because folks coming from Switzerland come over here, dump their parkas, switch into a bikini, and they can have a really good time here. And then they buy a condo. It's the best mutually beneficial scratch my back, scratch yours relationship that we have with the art world. And I'm talking about real estate and art, not other things. Get your mind out of the gutter, Pete. So I pulled a few quotes. A few weeks ago, we were talking about Mamdani, and New York Post came out and said, and I'm taking this from the Post, so this is not Daniel speaking, this is New York Post, which is a very respected publication. Miami-based agents are now reporting a 166% spike in luxury property inquiries from NYC buyers. Some brokers are calling it the Mamdani effect. That's on one side. On the other side, Bloomberg, marginally more respected, but that's subjective, I suppose. A separate report came out of Douglas Elliman in New York found that Manhattan luxury contracts actually jumped 25% in November, with 176 deals at $4 million or more. A surge some brokers said that shows that there is no Mamdani effect. So listen, guys, you're going to see Joe say this and Eddie say this. It's all marketing. At the end of the day, and Peter and I spoke about this a few weeks ago on the pod, it's very primitive, the reason why people want to move to Miami. Because of what I just said about Switzerland. It's snowing there, as it is in New York and New Jersey and basically anywhere north of Palm Beach. It snows there. It doesn't snow here. No parkas, bikinis. That's it. And there's the tax and pro-business thing. But that's bonus, right? Politics can change. The weather here ain't changing. Maybe except for the flooding. But hey, we're not going to talk about that.
Listen. Okay, so the winter you shop, the summer you close. They come here for the event. While they're here, they feel like, oh my gosh, I deserve it. This is a great place. Let me go ahead and pick up a condo. These art collectors are also condo collectors. They collect condos. They have a place in different hemispheres. They do kind of whatever they do. I've had some clients, they got a place in Singapore. They got a place in Miami. They got a place here. They got a place there. So that's kind of what happens. So any immediate reaction to transactions is complete BS. Why? Because even if you go forward and you love a place and you go to close, it's going to take you minimum 2 weeks. I don't care if you say you're all cash and I can close tomorrow. You got to get the approval from the association.
Right.
So, there's a process. Most likely.
And by the way, Fisher Island takes like a month to approve you by the association. So even if you want to spend $30 million, the association still has to approve you.
They still have to approve you. So we wouldn't see any kind of transaction for at least 30 days. So all this is promotional. All of this is basically hoopla. It's all put out there. It's meant to build the excitement and, more importantly, the FOMO. But let me tell you the reality. The reality is the first month of the winter buying season in November, comparing it to, and winter goes from effectively November through April. The first month, preliminary data shows sales are down 7% year over year. We are not off to a rocket start.
What in segment is that? Is that overall market or is that just condos?
Yeah, this is only condos, but this is Tri-County. This is Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County. And what it showed is pricing up 1.5%. So it's flat. What happened? That's price per door. On a price per foot basis, it's down 6%. It's down 6%. So listen, if you're hearing a lot about how great everything is, why are you hearing it? You're hearing it because they need to change the narrative. The reality is that people are sitting on the sidelines. Buyers are sitting on the sidelines. They don't know what's going to happen. We probably have another interest rate cut next week. So that'll be 3 times since September. Mortgage rates haven't changed. It's still sort of challenging. And more importantly, the cost of living in one of these condos. Now, not the new ones per se, but the old ones, it's a cash burn. It's a dramatic cash burn. And then you ask yourself, well, yeah, but if I buy a condo, I'm building equity. Well, if you're buying at the top of the market, how much equity are you going to have? And then the flip side, if you go and rent or get a hotel, it's probably cheaper to get a hotel than it is to actually maintain.
Depends where you're staying.
Well, like if you stay like what I like, I'm like dirt cheap. But if you really go over the top,
I saw you at the Four Seasons last weekend. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but I was there. I was going through the garbage cans. I was looking to see if any of these billionaires who are in town were doing anything with it.
All right.
Oh, but I guess what I'm saying is this is just don't get caught up in the FOMO. Do not get caught up in the FOMO. Enjoy.
It's very easy. It's very easy to get caught up in the FOMO. A lot of sexy art, sexy people, sexy food.
It's like WWE. This is all WWE. This is the theatrics. This is all about the excitement. Don't get caught up in that. Enjoy it, but look at the numbers. Let the numbers be your anchor as to what the reality is all I would tell people. But enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. Go over the top and enjoy yourself.
Art Basel drives Miami crazy. Buy, sell, hold, Pete.
Crazy, yes. Sales, no. So I'm a buy on the promotion. I'm a sell on the actual end result in terms of condo sales.
I ticked you for a buy. Because I know you love it. You love it. All right. Miami-Dade College, Peter, gives its blessing. That I pulled that from a Miami Herald article, and I love the Miami Herald. I do, but sometimes it's like a bastard child, and you have to love it. What is this, a seance? We're talking about Miami-Dade College's revote on the Trump Foundation Presidential Library site that took place on December 2nd, this past Tuesday. at MDC's campus in Hialeah. Why did it take place on MDC's campus in Hialeah? Like, what is that, 10 miles away from the Trump Library site, which is right next to the MDC campus in downtown? I don't know. Maybe they thought nobody was going to show up. Well, lo and behold, were they wrong? About 100 people
Really?
showed up. Oh, yeah. About 100 people showed up, including Dr. Marvin Dunn, our local octogenarian activist. Keep it up, Doc. So, for anybody who hasn't been following this, Peter and I have been talking about this for a while because it is very, very, very important, not because of a political ideology, left, right, but because it is a bad real estate deal. And that's what we do on the show. We talk about real estate. So, Donald Trump Presidential Library site has been conveyed from Miami-Dade College to state of Florida, and they want to give it to the Trump Presidential Library so that they can build this presidential library and high-rise, which I think would be a first for presidential libraries. And they got to find somewhere to put the plane from Qatar, of course. The site is approximately 2.6 acres right next to the Freedom Tower, across the street from, we still call it the AAA, the American Airlines Arena, ever since it's been called the FTX Kaseya Center. It seems like Kaseya's in the dump, so they'll probably change the name again next year. But it's right there on Biscayne Boulevard across the street from the Bay. Eduardo Padron, former president of Miami-Dade College, had purchased this about 20 years ago with the ideas of developing it for the college in the downtown campus area there. Well, a development proposal in 2016 got turned down by the college, and ever since it's just been sort of like this parking lot. Miami-Dade property appraiser puts the value at $67 million. Miami-Dade property appraiser is wrong, folks. Very wrong. Marvin Dunn, Dr. Marvin Dunn, you're really vocal about this, and you've said the $67 million price tag too. Call Pete and I. We'll explain to you why it's worth way, way more and why you should be even more pissed off than you are, because you should be pissed. Everybody should be pissed. This is a bad real estate deal. Marvin Dunn sued the college, and there is a trial set in August. So this is huge because we're kicking the can. This is what we're doing. We're kicking the can. So they re-voted on this on Tuesday. But for what? That's what I want to understand, Pete. Why did they re-vote? Procedural. What, to just CYA? Cover their asses?
Yeah, from what I was reading, it was so what happened the first go around is they just said like real estate. It's kind of like when you look at an agenda, it was very vague. It's kind of like, hey, does anybody have any, a part for open discussion? So they just put real estate in there, and all of a sudden they go ahead and they bring up this Trump library, the idea of transferring over. So for this, and then so what they got sued for is they didn't follow Freedom of Information Act,
Florida Sunshine Law.
Florida Sunshine, everything related to transparency. They didn't follow it. So what was being alleged, this is basically a redo. So if in fact they show up to trial, they're going to say to the judge, hey, judge, just in case we did it correctly the first time, but there was a problem. Yeah, we went ahead and we did it a second time, and we gave everybody an opportunity to show up, and 100 people showed up. So therefore, everything is good.
100 people showed up, but listen to the atypical. You're talking about procedure. Listen to the atypical procedure. Typically, I'm sure you've been to a commission meeting or one of these public hearings. You stand in line and you go up to the lectern and you speak your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not the procedure they followed here. You had to send an email to the college to request to speak. Why would they do that? I don't know. This smells so fishy, and if it quacks and it walks like a duck, it's a duck, and this is.
And so everybody understands the big picture. We always hear about Harvard University. We hear about the Ivy Leagues. We hear about Stanford. We hear about these endowments that these organizations have, these institutions, so which they can do stuff, whether it's research
right.
or whatever the policy is. Well, Miami-Dade College, who it serves is effectively those people with the first 2 years before they get into a college, like a university. So a college versus a university. I think they have some 4-year programs, but most of it's 2 years.
No, they do. They do have 4-year programs.
They do have 4-year programs. Okay. Yeah. So before it was Miami-Dade Community College. Now it's just Miami-Dade College. So they must have changed it a little bit. But basically, it is a college to help people locally who need to maybe learn a language Whether you just arrive here and you need to learn English, or maybe you just arrive here and you want to learn Spanish or Portuguese or Creole or anything like that. You can go there, you can pick up your education cheap language wise, but you can also retrain yourself. AI is spreading throughout. Everybody's worried, am I going to lose my job? Am I not going to lose stuff? So what are your options? Well, I can try to trek all the way out to Florida International University. It's going to take me an hour and a half to 2 hours to get there each way. Even though as a crow flies, it's close, but on 8th Street, Coyote or the road, it takes forever. Or you can go to Miami-Dade College. They have campuses set up strategically throughout Miami-Dade County, and the tuition is minuscule. My University of Miami might be $100,000. Miami-Dade College is probably $100 a credit hour, just to give you context. So it's there serving a purpose. And what Dr. Patron did is, by making this move and buying dirt, this site, buying it when he did, when nobody wanted it. This is the endowment. This is the backstop. So if they can build on it, or more importantly, they can dump it off. I'm not saying don't sell it. I'm saying give real value, and the real value is $368 million, about $300 million more than apparently what the property appraiser is saying.
Well, by the way, I want to make it really clear to everybody: they're not even buying it for $67 million. They're buying it. They're not buying it. They're getting it given away. Goose eggs, guys. Goose eggs. Yeah, it looks like I'm doing something naughty, but yeah.
But Daniel, what do they get back in return? Did that come up at the meeting? Was anything mentioned about?
They don't get a goddamn thing, Peter.
Nothing. They don't even get a guarantee.
No, they get the ability, and I quote, to turn it in. You know, libraries where people go and do research and they work, and the talking heads of the trustee. I want to make something clear. You're a trustee. You have the trust of the people that you're representing, and you have a responsibility to handle those assets with care. And that's just simply not happening. I don't care about what the economic impact. It's all bullshit, to put lightly. But if they want to sell it, sell it.
Yeah.
Sell it. The Trump family's made what, like $2 billion in crypto? Just buy it from the college if you want it.
Daniel, we ran the numbers based on current resale pricing in Greater Downtown Miami. If you put a spread on it for resales, for premium, for new, you got about a $5.3 billion sellout. You heard me right, with a $1 billion sellout. Why and how? Because when you figure out a condo, you figure out land cost, you got to figure out what can I sell it for. Then you work backwards, and there's a certain formula, which is like 10% of your overall development cost is going to be earmarked towards land. So just running some quick numbers, that's how I come up with the $368 million. It's a shocking number. And you say, yeah, but why are you going to build a condo on it? Well, Daniel, think about what you just said. You said there was a plan there in 2016. It was brought forward by Gary Nader. He's an art collector. He's got a bunch of Boteros, a bunch of all kinds of significant art. He wanted to build a Latin American art museum, and he was going to have it funded going forward by selling condos or having hotels or something else above there. So the idea has already been broached. You build this library, and then you have a series of towers. You can put up to 2,500 condos. It's 1,000 units per acre. This is 2.5 acres to 2.6 acres, depending on how you look at it from a survey perspective or other things. But basically, 2,500 condos can go up on the site. And I know what the kicker is? No parking requirement. In theory, 1.5 parking spaces per unit, 2,500 units. How much does it cost for a parking space? $40,000. If you don't have to pay for parking, that's extra money in the developer's pocket. These are the things that people have to understand. They're looking at it. Don't look at it ideologically. Don't look at it as idealistically. Look at it financially. These are big numbers for a college that is serving a purpose of helping everybody who wants the help to go ahead and learn something. Well, I don't get it.
Nor do I. Do I even have to ask if you're buy, sell, or hold on this?
Oh, I'm a pound the table, flip that damn thing over. No, sell.
Sell. Moving along. Where the heck did I put our rundown? There it is. Miami-Dade College, sell. Lowe's hotel renovation. Well, it is Art Basel, so we're going back to Miami Beach. And the Lowe's is global hotel brand. This is their flagship property, Pete. They actually renovated this back in 2016. So 10 years ago, they put $50 million into this. And this ain't no little boutique hotel like the Standard. No, this is a 780 key property. It was originally built back in 1998, and they put another $55 million into it. Now, there's a lot of speculation on why they decided to do it right now. A lot of people are talking about with Vladislav Dornin building the Aman and all of these properties that are set to come online in the next few years. Well, if a new property comes online and then you're renovating, you sort of lose that market share because one of these snowbirds comes down for the season and you're closed. Aman or one of these other high-end luxury hotels grabs them and they're never going back to your hotel. So from what I understand, the strategy is to sort of preempt the new ultra luxury product coming online in Miami Beach. And that was the reason why that they decided to do this right now. It also curiously follows it was a $340 million refinancing on the property just a couple of years ago. But you wanted to talk about some history of that property before we jumped on the show. Pray tell.
Yeah. I don't mean to piss on everybody's parade, but let me give you some history on
Yeah, baby, let's go.
All right, so there was a guy in a country called South Africa. His name was Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela, during apartheid, was doing some stuff that allegedly he wasn't supposed to be doing, and ultimately got convicted. So they sent him to an island, a prison on an island right off the coast of Cape Town. And he spent time in there, and ultimately apartheid fell. And once it fell, Nelson Mandela came out and was from the prison after decades of prison. He got elected president. So he was spreading this message that we want to bring everybody together. That's what South African flag recognizes. If you ever look at it, I'm talking about, I've been to South Africa. I went to Cape Town, all this type of stuff. So I kind of, I got to grasp it, but I want to kind of lay it down. So what he does is after he's elected, he does a world tour. The world had fought back against apartheid. He does a world tour. And guess what happens when he comes to Miami? The city of Miami mayor, the county, as well as Miami Beach, they all say, you're not welcome. They don't welcome him in a great way. So what happens? NAACP, National Association of the Advancement of Colored People, they go forward and they protest Miami Beach. They were telling anybody African American, do not hold conferences, conventions, anything in Miami Beach. So this thing went on and on and on and on. Fast forward, the city of Miami Beach is losing business to Orlando. Orlando's taking off convention center space. Okay. Orlando's becoming a dominant player. So city of Miami Beach says, okay, we gotta counter this. We gotta gussy up the old convention center. We gotta improve it, but more importantly, we need convention center hotels. So what they do is they earmark 2 sites in which they're going to turn into the convention center hotel. One is the Lowe's. Right next door is a smaller project, and a gentleman called Don Peebles, who was an advisor to President Clinton, ultimately an advisor to President Barack Obama. He's in town, as the story goes. He's hanging out on the beach with his wife. He's reading Miami Herald hard copy, the actual print edition. He sees this RFP, request for proposals. He submits an offer. It's supposed to be a hotel earmarked, done by an African American to somehow make up for the mistakes of when Nelson Mandela came down, was basically shunned. Now, one of the reasons they argue he was shunned is that he was South Africa was linked to Castro in Cuba, and as a result of that, some of the Cuban Americans.
Well, I don't buy that for a second.
Well, I'm just saying that's what it was. So ultimately, this Lowe's is forever connected, in my mind, to the fact that Nelson Mandela was shunned here, and the project right next to it, and the name escapes me. Immediately to the right, it's a small little boutique hotel, Art Deco.
Wait, right, looking on.
No, a little bit to the right, going
the
south.
The other right.
Yep.
This one?
Yep. Yes. It's that one, or so? Yeah. It should be
to the south or to the north?
It's to the south, immediately south of it.
Oh, so it's this one.
Yep.
Whatever this is.
So ultimately, that is the city's way of sort of saying, okay, we messed up. Let's kind of get involved. And Don Peebles ultimately ends up becoming a very successful and profitable developer down here. He's developing all over the country. But this is sort of the story of the Lowe's Hotel back then, 30 years ago, 20 years ago. So there's always an angle in Miami. But listen, what they're doing, I think, is successful. It makes sense. I don't believe the story that somebody coming in to stay at the Aman, which is going to go up on like 40th or so, 38th. I don't believe that somebody who would look at the Aman is going to say, "Oh boy, I'd rather go to the Lowe's," or vice versa.
No, I too think it's a different product. It doesn't stop people. It doesn't stop the Lowe's from probably charging upwards of $1,000 a night for this 780 key hotel.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a competitive business, and ultimately, you got to stay ahead of the curve. And if, in fact, this is the anchor for the whole brand, if it looks like shit, flagship. What is it? Yeah, what is it?
By the way,
yeah,
not that it didn't. I probably had been there a couple years ago. It didn't look like shit. I mean, it certainly didn't look as dated as the Ritz Carlton on Key Biscayne looked. That was built what in '02, and they hadn't touched it since. And they were asking what, $750, $800 for a room facing the wrong direction.
Yeah.
That needed the renovation, but that certainly isn't the flagship property for the Ritz Carlton. What else about the lows? I feel like there was something else we wanted to touch on, but we can pop on to the next topic because we got plenty to talk about today.
Well, remember when the lows came too? At the time, Miami was really starting to catch steam.
It was
You know,
Will Smith's Miami came out in 1998, I think.
exactly.
Bad Boys.
We were starting to get hot. Then you had September 11th. That sort of curbed everything there for a while, and then we started taking off again. You know, the Versace thing that was in the late 90s when he was murdered. You know, right there on Ocean Drive, which is just a few blocks away, by the way. You know, it's maybe 5 blocks away. But you know, so Miami was sort of catching its momentum. It had tailwinds. Now I think it's a little bit of a different situation. Now, you know, south of Fifth, which is the most prominent area I'd say in Miami Beach from a condo perspective. You know, other than that, a lot of the rest of the part of the beach is, you know, it's sort of in transition.
Well,
There are
I don't think
challenges.
there wasn't a luxury condo boom on the beach in the 90s. There might have been condos and there was multifamily, but it wasn't the apogee. It wasn't the continuum. Those
Well,
properties didn't exist. People went to Miami Beach to vacation.
yeah. So if you remember back, there was a guy called Thomas Kramer. Remember the name
Yeah,
Thomas Kramer? You
Portofino.
ever heard
Yeah. He was the
uh,
guy who ripped off his father-in-law, right?
yeah, yeah. So Thomas Kramer was a commodities trader. He came in here. He did some stuff. Ultimately, there were allegations that came out that he ripped off his father-in-law, who was moving money in Austria or Germany or Switzerland or something like
Germany, I
that.
think.
Yeah. So Kramer came in here. There you go. He started building that. Ultimately, wasn't able to do it on his own. I want to say he brought in a related group to finish it. So because see the little white building to the left? For the longest time, that was the only building around. Then he
Right.
puts up Portofino. He had plans to turn that into like a fingered islands type of area with canals like a Venice, things like that. It all went sideways. But Kramer had accumulated a bunch of dirt, and he held a lot. You know, he was the one who had most of it on lockdown. He runs into his problems. One of the issues he had, if memory serves me correct, he was going like 90 miles an hour down Washington Avenue in his Porsche. He gets arrested. He opens up a bar, and then he's got like he was like homophobic allegations and stuff like that. So this guy was very much a lightning rod coming in here doing his stuff. He had a house on Star Island that he called Hell. He had it painted like red on the outside, and this was like this is where all of the escapades, let's just say,
Well, it was
allegedly went
neighbors with
on.
Diddy.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah,
got
I
to
didn't want to
out
make the
Diddy
connection,
Diddy.
but yeah, 100%. So this was the 90s Miami when it was just catching its wind. Everything was taking off. It was transitioning from live music to electric music and glow sticks and lollipops versus, people smoking. The whole thing was sort of in transition. So you're right. Not a lot of went up, but I would argue that Thomas Kramer and the whole experience is really what sort of jump started it all. It kind of got it going. It had the flash. It had the pizzazz.
So
You
wait,
throw in the
are you saying Live wouldn't have existed without Thomas Kramer's party boy atmosphere?
Well, yeah, I mean, Liv was like a suburban guy coming in after the fact, trying to look back to what it used to be, what Miami used to be. I mean, it was I mean, just for instance, and this doesn't mean anything, but I was drinking at a bar one night. There was a bar called Red Hot
You
Chili
were
Pepper.
drinking?
It was a Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh no, when I drink, I drink. So I'm out drinking, and you know who I run into? I run into the guy. What is it? Adam Dershowitz from Counting Crows. They were popular at the time. They had
Okay.
done a concert, and he was out drinking at one of the bars. That's what Miami South Beach used to be. You could just show up. You didn't, Grace Jones. It's like all these names from the past. These people would just be popping in the bars. It was not a big deal. You got the famous story of what is it? Ted's Hideaway down south of Fifth. Who is it? Bono comes rolling in from U2 at the time. They close the doors, and he performs. So it was that type of vibe. It was kind of gritty, and the people who knew kind of knew. And I didn't know. I just happened to end up there because I didn't want to spend my winters up north. So I said, well, screw it. We'll go down to Miami, see this great news town. But that's kind of what it was. So things were just getting started. So yeah, there weren't a lot of condos going up. But the Portofino I would probably point to as one of those turning points because for the longest time South of Fifth was no go. You didn't want to go down there. That was a cheap rentals. There was a guy I worked with who was a writer.
Right.
He's working on a book. He was renting there and effectively what was like a flop house. Now today you'd probably get $1 million, $2 million a door for the place he was he was renting in.
For sure. All right. Buy, sell, hold in the Lowe's renovation. We got a little sidetracked.
I'm a buy on it. I just wonder if if the best days aren't behind it. But I'm a buy that they're sticking
I'm
to
a
it.
buy on it. Glad he got that refinancing. What did he pay for
Yeah,
that
well,
refinancing? 2024 capital is expensive for him, but hey, I'm a buy too. DDA, which is the Downtown Development Authority, fumbles on Flagler. It's another topic we've talked about quite a bit in the past. So Flagler Street, for anybody who is just listening or doesn't know Miami, Flagler is effectively Street Zero. So Miami, we're I guess we just got to bring it up for the crew because, and I'm sorry if you're driving in your car, but this is going to be a little bit of a visual lesson. So Flagler Street is an east-west street, right? This is it right here, Flagler. And notice how southeast first, and then you have northeast first. So if you're south of Flagler, you're on the southern streets, and if you're north of Flagler, you're in the northern streets. So effectively, Flagler, if Miami did have a main street, that would be Flagler. It's Street Zero. So
correct.
over the last few years, it's actually been 4 years now. Peter, we've talked about how. Remember you say how, oh, don't they redo this all the time? No,
Yeah, they do.
they've been redoing it the whole time, and it's just never finished. It's ongoing forever and ever and ever. But why do we talk about the DDA, the Downtown Development Authority? Well, so the DDA is a special taxing district that encompasses this downtown area. And so what is a special taxing district? When you pay your property taxes, you get your property tax bill in August, they send it around August. There's an ad valorem tax, which is an extra tax. Sometimes the county tax it on for garbage and recycling pickup, and certain districts have certain little things. But here you have the DDA's ad valorem tax, and so if you have like a $500,000 condo, it might add up to something like a couple $100 a month, but it's money. And so the tax revenues from this amount to something like $12.8 million a year. Their total budget's about $18 million a year, and they do the rest through sponsorships and grants and whatnot. The DDA's job, or at least their whole MO, is the Downtown Development Authority. I'm looking at a map of downtown. It looks pretty damn developed to me. How about you, Peter?
When the DDA was first established in their role, Miami was Greyhound bus stations, it was panhandlers, it was homeless people sleeping in what's now Museum Park. It was no go. It was air conditioners that had to be like put in a cage so nobody would steal them for the scrap metal and sell them down on the river. That's what it was. So at a time, it made a lot of sense. Then they put in place Miami 21 and the zoning, ultimately, the ability to build to the moon, that's what turned the thing around. And the DDA just happened to be around for the ride. So yeah, I agree with you. They've it's pretty much one and done. Shut it down, use the money elsewhere because there's nothing else to do. The developers, the momentum has begun. The inertia is there. What is the purpose of continuing to tax people? What, so you can put up signs saying this is this neighborhood and that's that neighborhood? I don't think people
Well,
need it. They got something called a smartphone. They can just look it up on the smartphone.
right. So the DDA's argument today to keep their funding is downtown is a business district. That's the talking point. It's a business district. We need to attract HQs and tourists, but like Coral Gables has a central business district. Brickell has a central business district. I think that argument's a little tired. So the counter force opposite of the DDA is something called the Downtown Neighborhood Association. We'll call it the DNA. And their argument is that downtown is now a neighborhood. We need dog parks, clean sidewalks, streets, not Formula One parties and donations to UFC. And that's real shit. They donated like $100,000 of their $12.8 million budget for UFC. It doesn't really pencil for me. I guess that's an ideological thing. I don't really understand what they're doing with the cash. And this all sort of bubbles up when you look at Flagler Street. So they've been renovating Flagler for 4 years. It's a street, guys. So it's like when you go to a diner, Peter, it's like when you go to a diner. If a diner can't make a good grilled cheese, you can't expect them to do anything else right. Flagler Street is the grilled cheese. If you guys can't get that together, and by the way, all the little businesses, the small businesses who are sitting behind Bob's barricades for the last 4 years with no parking, no support, no nothing, and you guys are throwing UFC parties? Come on, that's not right. So look, I like Eileen Higgins for City of Miami, but she's a big proponent of the DDA. I don't see how both things can be true, but I guess they can be. She lives downtown, so she's for it. She's been involved in it, but I think it's time to go. And I think they've really screwed the pooch with Flagler.
So the Miami DDA, I was looking it up, Daniel, while you were speaking. Miami
Yeah,
Downtown Development Authority. It was established in 1965. Let's go back to 1960s. What was going on in 1960s? Well, you had the interstate system set up, and then you had suburbia taking place. You had people moving out of the urban core, and they were moving to the suburbs. Down here, I call it Kendallandia. They were moving out west. They had their cul-de-sac, they had their house, and what happened? These cities were basically getting depleted. They used to be a concentration. They were a place where you could get everything. I'm not going to say 24/7. I didn't get here till '93, but the cities were under attack, if you will. They were losing the lifeblood.
right.
People would drive in, they drive out, you build the roads. So 1965, they set up the Miami Downtown Development Authority. They're trying to get things going. We then run into all kinds of problems in the city of Miami. Remember, 2000, we were the poorest big city in the country, stuff like that. They go ahead, they put in the zoning. The zoning comes around. And at the time, they had some leadership that was really well known and was out there and was doing a number of things. They were doing studies. They were providing data. They were doing some of the work that the Beacon Council, which is the economic development authority for the Miami-Dade County,
Right.
they were doing similar things, but they were really trying to jumpstart what was happening. And this is a time when Moshi Mana, the owner who owns all this type of property, there was a free trade zone that went defunct. How does a free trade zone owned by the county go defunct? That's how bad it was. That's what Moshi Mana bought. So when you guys go to Wynwood and you go to this little area where he's got the pop-up bars, or he's got the bars and he's got the roach coat, or the food. Sorry, I'm going old school. He's got the food trucks. He's got all that type of stuff. That was part of the free trade zone. That's how bad it was. Fast forward to where we are today, and the thing's exceptional. So what they've been trying to do is they're doing their usual 10, 15 years. Let's renovate Flagler, because Flagler's always been the Achilles heel. It's right in the heart of the city. It's got this old vibe, but nothing is going on. So they began their usual every 10, 15 years. They began in 2016 to try to bring this thing forward. They didn't bring it around until 2021 because of the pandemic and other things. But the initial cost of this was supposed to be $13 million, Daniel, for 5 blocks.
What's
Now
it now?
it's 30. $33 million for 5 blocks.
33.
I walked it. I did a live video. I walked it. Anybody wants to see it, you can see it on my site, MiamiCondo.club. I walked the site. They've done 2 blocks, 2.5 blocks maximum, $33 million price tag to get it done. Where does it stop? It stops right by Miami Avenue, right in front of the old Burdines, right in front of what's now Ross Dress for Less. There is gravel piled up. There's all these pylons sitting there. The thing is a disaster zone, 100% disaster zone. The county has a brand new courthouse. We're replacing the original courthouse.
Yeah, we talked about it last week.
We got all this. You cannot drive effectively from the new courthouse to the bay unless you weave all around because of one-way streets and stuff like that. I walked it. This thing is a disaster. Everything's got the roll down cages in front of the storefronts. Nobody's going to open, and those people who do want to open, they can't do it because they're waiting for the construction. Moshi Mana, the guy who owns about 80 properties down there, he went on a podcast in South Florida Business Journal, and he was talking about, I don't know how long it's taking. I don't know why it's taking it. I spent my own money for the design review board, for the actual architectural, all that type of stuff. The thing is not going forward, and I don't understand why. I don't want to say it's incompetence. I mean, maybe some of it has to do with incompetence. I can't explain it.
What can it possibly be? Then what? I'm not pointing fingers, but did the construction company that won the bid just bail? I don't know. What's happening?
Well, supposedly there were allegations, and it depends on what you read. They were slow walking it. There's something with FP&L. Everybody always blames FP&L that they can't lay the wire.
Well, because FP&L usually did something wrong.
Wait, but they're kind of always a scapegoat. I mean, maybe they always
I understand
because
listen, FP&L does work in front of my house all the time. It's all they farm everything out, whether it's Moss or there's another one that starts with a C. I've rarely see an FP&L truck drive around where I live.
Yeah.
So FP&L wins a contract. I mean, I don't know if FP&L has anything to do with this, but we were
No,
just
no,
talking about.
but they were being blamed. Well, we got to wait for FP&L to do something. But I always hear about FP&L. But I want you to look at that distance. I walked that. Anybody who knows Miami whatsoever, you're starting at Biscayne Boulevard, which is effectively, what's over there across the street is going to be the
The
amphitheater type
Intercontinental.
of area. Yeah. And for you to walk from one point to the other, we're not even talking a mile. This is like a 7-minute walk, 8-minute walk. They've done 2 blocks, but
Well,
according to them, see
it's
where it says
definitely taxi distance for a Miamian.
but you see where A and B is? That's actually one. That's effectively 1 block because there's a little short street there. So I don't know. Maybe it's I don't know. But it's 5 blocks. It's 5 blocks. That's it for $33 million, and they broke ground in May of 2021. Originally
Well, I mean,
13 million.
it was COVID. Wait, there was no COVID here. Yeah, what the heck is going on here? There was even some talk about pedestrianizing part of it, which, if you've ever driven through there, I have. It's a shit show. It's like when Perez wanted to pedestrianize South Miami Avenue. The traffic patterns don't allow for it, especially when you're adding 1.5 cars per unit and you continue to build. Can't close roads.
but 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 understand what the main purpose of this thing is. What they're doing, and I showed this in my video. What they're doing is, you know how you got a street and you got a curb,
Yeah,
and the curb is supposed to keep the cars from going on the street, from going onto the sidewalk.
yeah.
What they're doing is they're either raising the road or lowering the curb. They're making it flush. They're putting in dividers like so that nobody tries to drive over the sidewalk and run people down like they do in Europe and stuff like that. That's what they're doing. That's all they're doing.
Europeans,
Maybe they're doing some
those.
sewers, but that's it. Lines, FP&L lines. But we are not talking about building the Panama Canal. We are not talking about doing the tunnel. We're not talking about the Spider Bridge or the Signature Bridge or the Fountain Bridge, whatever you're
So
talking about.
what? Okay, I want a Peter Zalewski prediction right now. There's 4 options here: Flagler Street, Mandarin Oriental, Ken Griffin's Tower, Spider Bridge. Which one is getting finished first?
Well, they just came out with an announcement on the Spider Bridge that's been delayed another couple years. Looking at the financials, even with Mamdani, I don't think Ken Griffin's putting a shovel in the ground anytime soon. What was my other option?
Uh, Mandarin Oriental.
Mandarin Oriental. Yeah, that's not happening anytime soon.
You
So
don't
I'm
buy
going to have
it.
to go with Flagler Street. Right
You
now, the
think
estimated
so? So
complete,
despite everything we just said, you think Flagler is the most expedited large project happening right now?
dude, they got 2.5 blocks to go. That's all they got to do is lower the curb or raise the street, put in some palm trees, throw down some cobblestone, and make it flush, and wait for the boys at FP&L to show up and do the work. According to them, that's the delay. In the
I
meantime,
vote Peter Zalewski, head of the DDA. You know you'd get like a $300,000 salary too. People are not happy about that.
yeah, the DDA it's a marketing promotional type of piece, and
Yes,
what's
it
great
is.
about
But do
marketing.
they need an $18 million budget to do so? It's Miami. We've been talking about Miami the whole show. We're sexy. We got Basel. We got bikinis. Do we need $18 million to attract people and companies to come here?
Well, why didn't the DDA buy the Miami-Dade College site? They could have used that 18. They could have leased it. They could have leased it. They could have brought in food trucks. They could have done a whole. I mean, you had that site sitting right there. You want to promote development, you could have taken the money and done that.
Ooh,
I mean,
wow,
by the way, they have
that's
posh office spaces.
you're throwing elbows.
No, but dude, come on. This is like I
But
walked
no,
it.
that's brilliant. Why didn't they lease that site? Why has that been a parking lot?
For the longest
Because
time.
you know what?
They
If it
could
would
have
have been spoken for, this wouldn't even been on anybody's radar.
I mean, if you're the Downtown Development Authority, you go to Wynwood. You got something called what? Smorgasbord? Is that what they call it? Is that how you say it?
Closing.
Oh, okay, but it's closing. But what it was is because you can't
Right.
do anything with dirt. Dirt's got no value until you can build. So what they did is a smorgasbord. They laid down some gravel and they brought in food trucks effectively, and they turned it into like a food hall. You're gonna tell me in the winter that wouldn't be a perfect food hall? That Donald Trump site, soon to be Donald Trump Presidential Library site. You're gonna tell me you couldn't bring in music? You couldn't do all kinds of things. You're right there in the heart of the city. Across. Maybe the concern is they're
So
stealing
wait,
away
are
from
you telling me
Bayside?
that
I don't
the
know.
Miami-Dade College trustees had a lack of creativity? Because
Well,
I don't think there's any
I'm
light
just
bulbs up
saying.
there.
I can't imagine this many people, they don't get it. They don't see it. Maybe the problem is none of them live there. Maybe they're all in Kendallandia. Maybe they don't actually go past this stuff. Maybe they don't have to see it, and
And
therefore
maybe
they're
they
unaware
aspire
of
to
it.
live in South Beach.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It's all you got to do is walk it. It's such a short walk, and you're like, it's taken. You guys started this in 2021. How is this not done yet? I mean, it makes no sense. So to me, it's almost got to be intentional because I can't imagine the people are that
But
incompetent.
to what end, Peter? I don't know. I don't have an answer.
Well, I mean, I mean, the largest landowner is Moishimana.
So wait,
Maybe
somebody's trying to stick it to Moishe?
I don't know because he's sitting on this dirt. He can't do anything with it. He can barely rent the stuff. He says he's been getting jammed up all the way along the way with his planning and zoning. I mean, I don't know. This is conspiracy, but it's 5 blocks.
All
How
right.
does it take?
I wanna buy sell hold on this because the Moishi thing is a good transition to what we're about to talk about. So you buy sell hold on DDA fumbles on Flagler. Did they fumble?
What? Oh yeah, no
Yeah,
DDA.
fumble.
I don't know.
That was a
Well, I don't
layup. That
know.
was a
I,
layup.
well, we'll put it this way. I don't know who made the decision to go with the contractor or whatever the particulars are. But if DDA is the tip of the spear, then yeah, that would be it's a disaster, and that would be
That's
itself.
the accountability. That's where the accountability lies.
Yep.
Diluting political power with stronger Miami. We don't always talk politics on the show, but it inevitably happens because real estate has so much to do, or politics has so much to do with real estate. We don't really follow Peter's an independent. I vote with my heart, but something needs to be done. And we're fairly passionate about it. You mentioned Moishe Mana getting jammed up with permitting, and even Jeff Bezos was on stage with Mayor Francis Suarez, who's been an employee, public servant in the city of Miami for 16 years and hasn't really seemed to fix anything regarding permitting. But there's a referendum potentially coming. A PAC, a political action committee, goes by the name of Stronger Miami, is collecting signatures. They need 20,500 by the summer, and they reportedly have over 15,000 right now. And they want to put a referendum in to change the city charter so that the city of Miami will have 9 commissioners rather than 5. And Peter and I are going to talk about the implications for that. What's up, Peter?
I mean, I think we're at one of these seismic pivots, one of these generational shifts. I don't know if people are aware of this, but I think a lot of the people the influx that came as a result of the pandemic, when the state of Florida didn't require a mask and people were able to work from home, the amount of people that came in here, I think that and working against people maybe coming from abroad, primarily Latin America, it seems as if something dramatic is happening. One of the reasons I live in Miami and I love Miami is the diversity. You got all this type of stuff, but I'm even noticing that it's tending to shift a little bit. So the prospects that we might for the first time elect Eileen Higgins versus Emilio, who used to be the city manager. Yeah, but who used to be the city manager of the city of Miami, who kind of represents the old guard. I know he's going to do things differently and stuff like that, but you really have two symbolic. I mean, this is going to be a symbolic election in a whole variety of ways. The idea that you're going to have the President Trump library there, kind of going again. I mean, there's
a lot of juxtaposition happening in the city. It's so polarizing.
I'm not gonna say this is not the Miami I've known for 30 years or so, but you can feel there is something in the air. I don't know how it's all gonna play out. I don't know if it has staying power. I don't know if it's one step forward, 2 steps back. I just don't know what it is. But there's something dramatic underway. You can feel it, at least from my perspective.
No, listen, absolutely. You have developers going out. And these are developers who have to kiss City of Miami Commission ass all day, every day to get stuff done. And they've done that. And despite the brown nosing, they still get hung up with permits. So these are wealthy people trying to build big things and make big money, and they're not able to do it. So they're pissed off, and they want a changing of the guard. You have a general manager from Sexy Fish and Brickell going up against Frank Carollo in the runoff on Tuesday, on December 9th. Guys, early voting starts today. That's City of Miami, Hialeah, Miami Beach. So just go vote. You're going to go to Art Basel? stop on the way. You're going to be sitting in traffic anyway. Vote, vote, vote,
Yeah,
vote,
exactly.
vote. Or Peter likes to go on Tuesday because he likes to get into it and likes to throw fists. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
He
but
doesn't do that.
last time they sent me to Liberty City.
Well, at least you didn't have to go to Hialeah's MDC campus. So we wanted to bring this up on the show because we talk a lot about the intricacies and the relationships and the dynamics between City Hall and developers, because that's what it's all about. If you need a variance or you need to expedite your permitting process, capital markets money is very expensive right now. So that carry on that 2-acre lot, it can make or break. And we're seeing foreclosures, pre-development foreclosures all up and down the coast. I think the Real Deal or one of these publications did an article today mapping it out. There's like 14 red flags popping up. And I don't really see that stopping, right? They had, we were going to talk about it today, but I want to get a structural engineer on the show. The anniversary of the
Miami Herald story
the
from the
sinking,
University of Miami. Yeah, University of
what's the
Miami
word
study
again?
with the sinking. Sinking. Sinking.
Wait. Was it University of Miami or FIU? I want to give FIU credit if it was FIU. I
I
think it was
thought it was
FIU.
University. No, I thought it was the University of Miami.
Okay, maybe it's University
I
of
will
Miami. It
Google it.
was
I'll Google it right now. I mean,
um,
maybe the story that came out from the Herald was FIU, but the University of Miami was the one who did the study
the original
last
study.
year. Yeah.
So there's all of these relationships and these levers that exist within City of Miami, and this referendum would kind of blow it all up, but for the better, because right now you have 5 commissioners. What does that mean? That means that all anybody needs to do is convince 3 people to do a thing, right? And so the argument against something like this is, well, it'll be much more difficult to build a coalition amongst commissioners, and then the bureaucracy is just going to get bigger, and you won't be able to get anything done. But I don't think that has anything to do with the size of the commission. That has to do everything about the mechanics of City Hall, right? If
Yep.
they had processes and protocols in place to expedite permitting, it doesn't matter if there's 5 or 9 people sitting on the commission. All that does is that it dilutes the political power. We just instituted term limits. I think that's a great thing, but it dilutes the years and years and years and years. And yeah, your nephew and your cousin and your uncle and your son can all become commissioners or mayors or city managers, and that's something we just got to accept here. But diluting it, and I think that the amount of signatures that they have today in December, they already have well over half of what they need by the summer. I think that that's the people saying that this needs to happen. Now I'll get off my
So,
soapbox.
all right. So we got. I'm looking at Census Bureau data. We got 487,000 people in City Miami proper. So that's gonna be like, what is that? 87th about up north. Then the southern line will be wherever it is. On the western side, you're gonna have like 37th Douglas Road, like 37th
Yeah,
Avenue,
more or less. Yeah, and then you
roughly.
get into the Gables.
The gate, yeah. So that's generally the area, and you got 5 commissioners now. If they take it to 9, it'll be probably a little bit more responsive in terms of the commissioners. But depending
Well,
where you are,
here's the other thing. They want commissioners to work in their district offices.
actually show up at their office,
Yeah.
because you know what they do is they take the allocation of cash, they then lease or maybe buy a bunch of pickup trucks, they put yellow lights on top of them, and they put the commissioner's name on the side. And these things with the lights going will drive up and down the communities, showing the commissioner's name. And so if there's anything you need done, the thing is coming by, you can like stop it, if you will. So the presence is always there. You're always sort of seeing them. But kind of the point I want to get to. So if you take it to 9, what you're probably going to do is, like you said, you're going to weaken or dilute the power. And when it comes to planning and zoning, I serve on a board with a guy who used to run City of Miami Planning and Zoning. I know people who've worked there. I know people who worked there. And what I will tell you is if you actually talk to them, they want to get stuff approved. They do. But what oftentimes happens is they become the scapegoat. People will blame them for not doing this, not doing that, because they can't get their financing. they're struggling with something, and who do you
Oh,
always
it's the
blame?
city of zoning.
Well, so I've had these conversations with some of them, like, dude, what are you guys doing over there? Why does it take forever? And a lot of times, what they say is, we're waiting on the either the land use attorney, we're waiting on the architect in order to bring us back plans. So we're we'll process it. And granted, there's a lag time depending, there's ebbs and flows, but they want to get it going. They want the development. Why do you
Right,
want
but they
development?
can't speak
Because
for themselves.
architects. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and they're not able to speak for themselves. There's only going to have one point person, and then what happens is the commissioners will lay down the pressure, from what I'm told. So it's functioning on its own. I would tell you, people I've met are qualified. They not everybody, but for the most part, they know what the hell they're doing, and they're conscientious. They're trying to accomplish a task, but inevitably they get blamed for everything because they can't respond, and it's easy for a developer who's messing something up, or an architect who's maybe behind because they got too much work, or a GC or somebody. So they all seem to blame that. So I think if you did dilute the city commission, it probably would be a good thing, and maybe you could provide some freedom for these different planning and zoning departments to be able to actually do what it is they want to do. Because the people who get in that industry, for the most part, the ones who go to school for it and stuff like that, this is something they love. They breathe it. They're all
Right, they're
about it. They're
public
not about.
administrators. They love this shit.
Yeah, they're doing it because it's a passion. And the last thing they want to do is just say no, 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 no. And if they are saying no, it's probably coming from some directive up above, is what I will tell you. Now,
Right.
I'm not trying to defend them. I'm not, if anybody's seen me on this podcast, I let her rip. So I am not, I'm not being paid, nothing like that. I'm just saying I've had an opportunity to speak to these people. I've seen the process. And I also know that all your GCs and developers aren't necessarily always telling you the truth.
You know what? And totally anecdotal. I couldn't agree with you more. I don't live in the city of Miami. I live in unincorporated Miami-Dade. Not telling you what. That's not saying where I live. Unincorporated Dade is just like pockets of Miami-Dade all over the place. But I've worked with the permitting office for my own projects, and these guys are so freaking helpful. If you don't know what the hell you're doing, there's a number you can call, put you on a little wait list. Oh no, you go into it, you chat, they call you, and somebody sits on the phone with you and helps you fill out applications until it's done. And they have a portal. People talk about the red tape and the big bureaucracy. If you do it and you follow the instruction and you do it right, it works. We're going off on bit of a tangent, but I want to buy, sell, hold on this. Peter?
I'm all about delusion of the power. I'm gonna miss the Miami of before, with the Banana Republic claims and all these crazy allegations. And one candidate would send out somebody dressed up in a chicken outfit with mariachi band to make fun of them. I'm gonna miss all that, but I think this is part of the overall change, this evolution, this maturation of the city. So I think it's necessary, but I'm gonna miss all the chaos. But I think we're going in the right direction. So I would say yes. I want the 9.
I want it too, Peter. And that just brings us right over an hour. We're getting better with time. It's taken us 6 months, but we're being honest. We're going to be respectful of your Friday afternoons because, hey, you got 2 hours for happy hour, guys. Don't drink and drive. Actually, don't drive at all this weekend. It's going to be awful, 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 awful. Take the metro, maybe. Peter, are you rubbing off on anyone? Maybe, maybe not.
225 for the Metro Rail. Can't beat it.
So that is our show today. It is not October, 2 months after October, December the 5th, Friday. We will see you all next week live at 4 p.m. Thanks again. And I'll see you next week, Peter. Actually, I'll see you next week, Peter. Bye, everybody.